My name is Josh Miller. I own Riverstone Kennels, and I've been training gun dogs for more than 16 years. I have field trialed, I've hunt tested, but at the end of the day, I'm a duck hunter. You might find that the duck in our Duck Dogs podcast is spelled uniquely. The UK stands for my British Labs. I love my British Labs. I love what they offer me, both as a part of my family and the high motor in the field. As you're going to find, I have some pretty special dogs. Follow along in our podcast series here as we talk about both in the field hunting and in the field training situations that will hopefully help you progress with your dog at home.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Duck Dogs. I am your host, Josh Miller, and let's dig in to today's episode. So, as you've probably noticed from our introduction, it was an overwhelming feedback, overwhelmingly so on the side of go back to the old introduction. So, there you have it. I'm sorry for the two of you that reached out and said, I like the new introduction, but there was like 50 of you that said, I want the old one back. So the old one is back. And, this is why I love the feedback, because here I'm sitting here going, does anyone even like this? Does anyone listen to this? But appreciate everybody that reached out. So before we get going here, thank you to Eukanuba. Eukanuba is the presenting sponsor here. Eukanuba Premium Performance Sport 3020, and they actually have a new puppy formula, Puppy Pro. Go check that out because they're very, very high quality foods. Sitka Gear, thank you to Sitka Gear. I'm actually going to be giving a seminar out in Bozeman at Sitka's home office. I believe that is going to be June 4th, so if you're in the area, go make sure to check that out. Go check them out at www.sitkagear.com. Also, thank you to Lucky Duck, which is your 5-star crash test rated kennel, both in the intermediate and in the large. And as we head into these, more summer and warm months, make sure to check out the fan. I love their fan that they have. So, www.luckyduck.com. And also, thank you to Gun Dog Supply. Gun Dog Supply is your one-stop shop for all of your hunting and training needs. And if you have not gone out and checked out Retriever Roadmap, go do it, because it is incredible how much great feedback we're getting on people making huge strides with their dogs. It's extremely affordable. It's extremely easy to follow. It is going to allow your summer training to be very, very successful. So make sure you go check that out, www.retrieverroadmap.com. It's a great aid for you. Anyone out there training your own dog this summer is going to be a great tool for you. So go check that out. So today's episode is going to be a little shorter, but I'll make sure to make up for it next week. And the reason it's going to be shorter is because I literally just had an alert come on my podcast recorder here saying micro SD card has limited space remaining with a big exclamation triangle on it. So I only have probably 10 minutes or so that I'm going to be able to kind of jaunt on here. But I want to tell you guys something that is kind of going on here at the kennel and in my life right now. I've just gotten my advanced dogs in. And the advanced dogs are kind of a point in the training year that I feel like things are really in full swing. So I only take one advanced class in a year. And these dogs come in and they're going to go through the most advanced part of the training, right? And get them to be what we'd consider through their finished program. And what's fun about this is the clients that have stuck through this. So the clients go through puppy introduction all the way through intermediate, then get to advanced. That's a commitment, both financially and a commitment to sending the dog away and being without the dog, which no one likes. I don't think there's any secret about that. But there's also a great anticipation of, this is what I've always wanted, right? I've always wanted a dog that does this. I've always wanted a dog that has this level of control. And what I love about it is that at this point, I've built such a relationship with the owners that it really gets to be a more personal time between me and the owner. So I really love that a lot. But I want to share with you guys something that it turned out to be way more comical than what I had anticipated. But I did something different this year with everybody that brought the dogs in for advance. And what I did is I had them do I'm going to say a demonstration for me. Now, nobody knew this was happening. So everyone thought they were going to come, drop the dog off, I'd give them updates along the way. So when they came in, everybody comes in one by one. I sat down, had them tell me what was going on, how was the hunting season, how was training. I'm taking notes throughout the whole thing. I'm like, all right, so tell me the things your dog's doing really, really well. And I have my prerequisites with it, on a fleet obedience, steadied finished retrieves, like down the line. I have a number of things that I need to make sure the dogs are doing, because that's leading into what I'm going to do. And, so yeah, everyone, was great. Yep, doing awesome here, doing great here. So the curveball I threw at them is I then was like, hey, let's go outside. And I want you to demonstrate all this stuff for me. Now, I know I'm throwing them into a mess, right? The dogs are now back at the kennel. There are smells all over the place. We have girls in heat. We have, dogs obviously all over, right? So tons of new smells. The dogs themselves are likely very excited because they recall being back here is, work time and, birds and, a lot of emotion there. So what I did is I'd say, okay, so walk from here around the training pond, off lead, on heel. And naturally, the dogs would not be as good as they were at home. So every time I got done with the drill, I'd say, okay, so rank me, was that as good, worse, or better than what they do at home? And we had one client, and I love him to death, but he's very black and white, so he, in his past, his business that he had, it was truck sales. So, this is what the truck should do. It better do what I say it's going to do. Otherwise, I'm doing something wrong, right? Which dogs are so different than that, of course. So, and so everything that I did was, when I asked those questions, he goes, well, that was worse. Well, that was worse than what she does at home. Well, that was worse than what she does at home. And so at the end of it, he was so flustered on it. He was like, I feel like this was a setup. Like, yeah, this, like, he couldn't even get the words out of his mouth. And I was like, all right. I was like, here's the deal. This was not a setup in that I set you up to fail, but it was in that I knew that it was going to be like that. Like, nobody comes and in this new situation with all these things going on, and that the dog is better than what they do at home in their controlled environment, in the routine that they know. It doesn't happen that way, right? And so my point on this was, I wanted there to be an understanding, and I wanted there to be a recollection of this moment when we get done with this, because there's this perception that once you get through the advanced training, that you have a dog that, will walk on water, will do everything flawlessly and perfectly, and they are a complete finished robot. And, for those of you listening, most of you go, well, that's not the case. It's not the case. But I always feel like there's this perception. So when you get done with this program, I show you everything. Your dog is doing so great. You're ecstatic. You're happy. You're excited. Oh my gosh. And you take him on that first hunt and it doesn't go perfectly. I want you to remember today, because all the stuff that you worked on and all the stuff that you told me that she does excellent on didn't look so excellent here. And there's a lot of things going on. Now, what my hope and goal is not only to train the dog, but to train the people in how to overcome those situations and how to be a better handler, to be able to handle those environments, handle those hurdles, and ultimately handle through it to where you keep the control and you keep it as controlled as possible. That was my point. And it was incredible, the reception of these guys are going, oh my gosh, like, I get it. I totally understand. I know where you're going with this. And it was such a neat thing for me, because I've always felt like in the past, if there's one thing I've fallen short on, is a trainer sending the dog home, it's just the perception of the clients when they go on that hunt. We've talked about on here before that the hunts, they're uncontrolled, right? I mean, I've been on hunts with my dogs that I've got 2 or 3 other dogs from other people in the group that are hunting, and they're breaking and they're all over the place, and people are yelling and screaming, and it's just like, it's chaos. My dogs, I expect that they handle that, and I expect that they work through it, and I expect that they stay disciplined to their job. But that's me handling them, that I do this every day, that this is what we do, this is my expectation, I hold them to it. Where I feel like I've fallen short is how I transition that same expectation and the same tools that an owner should have to keep that discipline with their own dog. I don't know if I'm going to get there. I'm going to try to get there, but I don't know if I'm going to, because that's a person-to-person thing, right? Like, I've had a number of clients that go, you know what? I just know my buddies don't have the control over their dog, so I'm going to let my dog go, because otherwise he doesn't get a retrieve. I'm sitting there going, like, what did we do all this work for? Why did we strive to hit these, big things? And like, why did we work to get here then? So it's person to person, but I've also felt like I've been able to weed through and get the clients to this advanced program that they're on the right track. They're where they're supposed to be mentally. They've bought into the program already. They were actively involved through intermediate. So I just think I have a really good group this year, and I'm really excited about it. Let me tell you on the other side. So my personal dogs. So I've been kind of easing. So we had snow here in Wisconsin just a week and a half ago. So it's finally feeling like it has turned. It finally feels like spring, almost going into summer already. And it's just a fun time to be out training. So for my personal dogs, when we're really kind of getting back in the swing of it, I am also evaluating. I'm going through some sets. I'm seeing, who has sloppiness in what area, what do I need to clean up, what do I need to sharpen up with whom as quickly as possible. And there's a lot going on there that I need to really make sure that I have dialed in. And, so kind of 2 different stages, right? So I have my personal dogs I'm looking at evaluating, what do I need to sharpen up? Every dog is going to be different in that. And then I've got this new fresh group that we're going to be doing everything from whistle sit and basic 3-handed casting with baseball, and like just learning. And it's really fun to see those 2 sides of it, because when I have people that come over to then watch where their dog is at, they can also see this is where we want to be going. And it's kind of neat for some people to see that difference of like, okay, so here's where we're at, here's where we're going. And then each time they check in, or each time they come out and get trained themselves, they can see the progress made to where we're going. So it's really kind of a fun thing. I'm really super, super happy that we're into summer. I'm super happy that we're moving through that. And for those of you that are in the same kind of ballpark, for you have a dog that you've done a bunch of work with, this evaluating time I think is really important, because it is so tempting and so easy to go through the motions and just, all right, well, I'll just set up a couple blinds and I'll just throw a couple hand thrown marks, and it's just so easy to go through the process, and just kind of like not the process, go through the motions and just say, I'm just going to train, right? I think challenging your dogs and being picky, identifying weak points and identifying what you need to go after and clean them up early allows you to have more productive summers going on, especially if you're testing or trialing. Now you really have to magnify that stuff, because when you get into those situations, that's where, you're liable for train wrecks. We talk about all the time, dogs that get, we call it test wise, right? So the dog won't ever screw up in training because he knows that he can be corrected, but he'll do it in a test because he knows he can't be corrected. And he gets jacked up, he gets amped up, and like stuff that I mean, I've heard people saying like, my dog never, ever, ever, ever breaks. Not hunting, not training, not anywhere, but he'll do it every time I test. That's frustrating. But sharpening this stuff up now allows you to be more intentional with those little things you're trying to go after later on in the summer. But you need to clean this stuff up now, otherwise you're going to be juggling way too much later on. So this evaluation stage, I think, is really important for all of us. I think it's important for me in particular. And this is where my notes come in so handy. I love being able to look back at my notes that I ended the year with going, all right, so, Bud was, wanting to pop on me, or, Brock was, blowing off whistles when he was on, crippled diving birds, and that got to the point that I think I need to clean that up. I mean, just stuff that I'm already mentally in a head start on. I really like, being able to jump into that. But, it's going to be really, really interesting. I do have a lot more that I wanted to talk about, here today, but this is where I'm not a technology person, and so not understanding that SD cards have time limits. And look at me, I'm sitting here with less than 2 minutes left on my time limit here today. So I'll make sure I get better at that as I go along. Remember, you're listening to a dog trainer, not a tech person. So what I would encourage you guys to do is kind of make those plans, be intentional with your training, and really try to make this early part of your year as successful as possible so that it sets you up to do more as you go into the rest of the training season. Be nitty gritty now so you can do more later. It'll make your training season that much more productive. So I hope you guys have a great week, a great weekend, and I will make sure there is more coming at you to make up for this tiny little episode here next week. So hope you guys have a great weekend, and we'll talk with you later.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Leave us a review on iTunes, and a special thank you to DUK, because without them, we couldn't do what we do here, bringing this information to you.